Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experiences. Today, I'm running a little late, so for those of you that have been waiting, my apologies to you. I have a request to speak about something related to the Kundalini today, and that would be the heat, the tremendous levels of heat that a person can feel when the Kunalini comes to them, and it is significant, and it can last for quite a while. This would be the sacred male aspect of the Kundalini coming up into the person, into their energetic physiology, but also, their normal physiology too. It expresses right through into the normal physiology. And this is something important to understand, that when you have the Kundalini, you will have sacred feminine who may come up, and she is typically really cold, like ice water in your veins. I mean, it was stunning when it first happened to me. I was amazed. I was driving a car down Highway 12 in Northern California, and I thought, just ask Sacred Feminine to come on up, and she did, and boy, did I pull that car over, and I was much less cavalier about how this can affect a person and how you can relate to it and the actual physical sensation that can occur. And it's the same way with the sacred male, the exact same way. And so with the sacred male, you'll be hot all the time. I've had this, for quite a while. It tapered off a little bit now, so I can, it's summertime here. So here in Northern California, we're 95 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees. I think that would be around 42 or 43 Celsius. So it can be pretty hot here, and I'm grateful that sacred masculine tapers off during these times, because it's really hard sometimes. Now, you can do a certain type of breathing exercise that will allow you to cool off from the sacred masculine heat, and of course that would be the lunar breathing. And so you plug the right nostril here, and you just breathe through the left channel or the left nostril. This is called lunar breathing. And conversely, when sacred feminine has come up and extremely cold, and maybe you're out there in a blizzard or something, and she's come up just to kind of remind you how it feels inside and out, or whatever the reason she may do, you can plug the left nostril and then breathe through the right. So these are ways that the Kundalini allows you, the corporeal individual, the egotistic individual, to manage some of these temperature swings. Nothing is wrong. You're not going to be able to measure this with a thermometer. So you could have sacred masculine inside you. You just, you're steaming up the windows everywhere. Okay, but put the thermometer in your mouth or anywhere else, in or around or on your body, and you're getting 98.6. Okay, so this is not mechanically measurable availability from the Kundalini. Much of Kundalini is not that way anyway. Kundalini is not set up to be explored by science by virtue of measurement at this point. At this point, we have a real problem, I guess, if you call it a problem, with science even recognizing Kundalini. So in a way, we're still in the dark ages when it comes to scientific exploration of Kundalini phenomena upon the human being. But the heat and the cold are definite avenues of tactile phenomena that you will feel within the Kundalini. And this is, you don't you can be inside of the activation and have that occur. Okay. And then, of course, that can remain with you for years and years. So don't think that, like the kriyas can remain with you for years and years too. But for the most part, kriyas will depart anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months into their process with the person. But as I said, there are people that are having kriyas, 3, 4, 5, 6 years later. And kriyas come in different forms as well. And I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about kriyas. It's just part of the flow that's coming through me right now. And emotional kriyas, mental kriyas, egotistical kriyas, physical kriyas, spiritual kriyas, they all exist, and they all exert influence on what we're doing and how we're doing what we're doing. Okay. Most importantly, for most people, it'll be the physical kriyas that will get the most attention. Kriyas are automatic, spontaneous movements that are perpetrated upon the body by the Kundalini. So you may find yourself waking up in certain kinds of yoga positions, or you'll wake up doing certain breathing exercises that you've never heard of before. Okay. These types of things, you'll shake. You'll have the shaking kriyas. And so every time, you're walking around and you're trying to live your life and everything is shaking, and perfectly normal. You don't have Parkinson's. Okay. This is Kundalini. The other kind of Kundalini, you'll have the snake dance where you'll be swaying and bobbing. It definitely looks like a dance, and you're trying to walk down the street. You're like, oh, yeah. It can be kind of comical, except for the person having it isn't laughing so hard. They're going, what the heck is going on? That is also a kriya. It's commonly known as the snake dance or the Shakti dances. One version of the Shakti dances. These are kriyas. These are the Kundalini pushing itself in an expressive fashion through the physical organism, through the body, whether or not the person wants it to happen. Emotional kriyas, same thing. One day you'll feel very happy about what is occurring, to the point where you just have so much exuberance and joy and ecstatic bliss. You just, oh my God, this is so amazing. The next day, gone. And not only are you not feeling the joy and the bliss, you're feeling depressed. You're feeling down. You're feeling angry. You're feeling sad. You're feeling almost the polar opposites of what you were feeling the day before. This is the absence of bliss. Bliss can be so strong and so amazing in its beauty and joy and connectedness. And when it's gone, we're left grasping for more. And when we can't have that moreness that we want, we become depressed. We become sad that it's missing, that it's left us, that no longer do we have that supreme, wonderful connection. Even though we still do, we just aren't feeling it that way. These are emotional kriyas. Kriyas of this type of emotional quality are stretching us stretching us further than our normal areas and parameters are. Okay, and so it's important for you to understand this. When you have these things, you don't let your ego start making up stories about why it's missing or what it is, or, oh my God, I'm Jesus now. You may feel like you think Jesus was or is. No. You are your own God or goddess, and you're having a kriya, a Kundalini kriya, which are typically temporary. Typically, not all the time, but typically they are temporary. Just like the heat and the cold, the good feelings and the depressive feelings, these kriyas come and they expand us. And in some ways, that expansion can be painful. You know, you may have read about expansion pains and how that can manifest upon a person. I'd like to say hello to a few folks here. I see Scott Turner and Ines Hellman and Sinye Ruddy and Bucheb and Ashish and Miller Sammy, Hungarian Lotus. Hello, everybody. Thank you for your patience with me as I was running a little bit behind. I'm trying this on the laptop again, and if somebody could let me know if the sound quality is like, is that happening? I had to take my expensive microphone back. So, you know, I would like some feedback on whether or not that the sound is working here, and I'll scroll up to see if anybody's telling me already. I see a lot of, hi everybody, Dwayne and Indra, Yalua, Hilda. So yeah, Eric actually asked me about these heat variations, and it can be a significant thing, especially if you're sitting in the car and you know your side of the car is all the windows are fogging up. Nothing's wrong with the car, it's you. You're like a walking, talking sauna, steam sauna. Okay, and this is good. These are good kriyas. These are healthy kriyas. Don't run away from them. Not that you could. You can't run from what's expressing inside of you. And don't resist it or try to resist it. Okay, don't stand in front of the air conditioner if you're having too much heat, and you know, don't try to take a really hot bath when you have the cold, because cold's coming up from within. The heat is coming up from within, and so don't try to beat this. Surrender to this. You can do the solar or lunar breathing if you want. These are subtle forms. They're not going to erase it completely, so don't think that that's going to happen. None of the kriyas that I'm mentioning should you be in any way, shape, or form resisting. You must have gratitude for the grace that is coming through you. It's a huge gift. And even though you may not have been trying for it, and let's just say the Kundalini activated in the first 8 minutes that you ever meditated in your life, and oh, here you are. You know, you weren't looking for it. You just heard that meditation lowers your blood pressure and is very healthy for you, and you thought you'd give it a try, and oh, wow, look at this. Here we go. So it was meant to happen for you this way. And for others of you, you've worked and worked and worked and worked so hard, and now you're starting to feel the pressure at the base of the spine. You're starting to feel the throb of energy in the tailbone. Yeah, maybe that tailbone's even moving back and forth, up and down. You can feel it changing position. This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful start of an amazing gift that's coming into you. Think about that. Now, can anybody tell me if the sound is coming through all right here? Oh, and Donnie, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Sound is good. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to write the questions in the sidebar here. It's just it appears as a sidebar to me. Some of the other kriyas that will happen is on the mental body. One can become extremely smart, so sharp, so intuitive, so knowledgeable about almost everything. And then, poof, it's gone. It's gone. And now, not only are you not sharp, you're kind of dull. You're kind of like, oh, hey, Chrism, what time it is it? And you're like, The big hand is, it's not that bad. It's just with me. But yeah, you can be kind of dull. You can be kind of like not at that spectrum. So that end of the spectrum anyway. So you can become very, very smart and very, very dull in moments. Okay, and these are also kriyas. These are stretching the spectrum of human expression as it is expanded by the Kundalini. So as I mentioned before, if the normal human spectrum is here, well, Kundalini is stretching it truthfully beyond what we can see in the picture here. Way out here, I get my fingers straight. There we go. Way out here, from here to here. And in order to have that occur, we have to visit those extreme ends of the spectrum. And that is visiting specific amounts of energetic upon our five body system. And once again, that's the physical body, emotional body, mental body, psychological body, and the spiritual body. So all five of these bodies will have that extreme end visited. That's extreme end of the spectrum visited. And this is significant because this can bring in some pain. This can bring in some expansion pains. I'm shaking the camera here, so I'll take my arms off the table. This brings in expansion pain. This is forcing the five bodies of expression to acclimate to a higher and stronger energetic field. And I see Hungarian Lotus says that I've experienced all of those. And yes, you have indeed. You most certainly have. And many people have experienced that. And it's a very important aspect to remember. It's a very, very important aspect to remember. None of this is happening accidentally. This is not a disease. This is not a syndrome. You're not having Kundalini syndrome because you're visiting these extreme ends of the Kundalini spectrum that is being superimposed upon the physical spectrum, forcing the physical spectrum to widen in its expression because of the amplification brought about by Kundalini consciousness. You see, you have to remember that Kundalini is as much a consciousness as it is an energetic force. It's not like electricity. And yet, when it shocks you, as if you're wearing a body enfolding shock collar, which it does, it'll feel like electricity. Last time I was electrocuted was about a year ago, and it electrocuted me for a full-on 8 seconds. I don't know if you've ever been electrocuted, but that's a long time to be electrocuted. And this is initiating specific levels of change within the individual. Okay, so even though it feels like electricity, it isn't electricity. But it has similar properties. And you might find that extremely high energetic states may mimic other lower form energetic states as well, like physical-based electricity and things of that nature. And I'm not saying that electricity itself does not have its own consciousness. It does. But it's not the same consciousness that the Kundalini is bringing upon the human system. Now, you may hear the dogs bark, when somebody walks by, or right now I'm bringing an injured crow back to health, and so you might hear the crow too in the background. So just an FYI for that. And let's see, I don't see any questions here. So I'm just going to continue here. If you do have a question, please feel free to write that in the sidebar here. And I'm checking it right now. Good to read about the sound here. Excellent. Okay, all right. So these are kriyas. Now, we have somebody that wrote a really long thing here. And I'll go ahead and read it on the air here. This is from Ennis, and it says, I got a lot of pain issues since the last year, specifically lower back. Besides times of being highly sensitive and very clear, it is still bouncing me like back and forth it feels. As well, it reached a point where it feels as if it's getting tough to be with lots of people during my job and being in a city. Any idea, recommendations? The pressure you're feeling in the lower back is the Kundalini. That will build a pressure in the lower abdominal pelvic areas. So between the tailbone and extending into the pelvis, you're going to have bony structures that are going to be forced to expand. Now, you have to remember that Kundalini knows how your body is set up. It knows you better than you know yourself. Okay? It knows how much pain you can tolerate as well. It also knows what karma is affixed to you and your development upon this world. So with that given, as the Kundalini travels up through the pelvic girdle, you're going to feel expansion pains there. In your case, I'm getting the feeling it's subtle. It's a subtle pressure there, and yet it's tactile. You definitely can feel it, and nothing is wrong. This is normal. This is the Kundalini working its way through the pelvic girdle into the spinal column, and then of course it'll work its way into the spinal cord from the spinal column, going straight up, chakra by chakra, or stimulating different chakras at different times. With regard to the bouncing me back and forth, well, that's what it does. It goes back and forth. It'll give and it'll take. It'll give and it'll take. And this is actually doing you a big favor. This is allowing the body to feel the strong force and then pulling it back. And then feeling the strong force and then pulling it back. Allowing a level of physical acclimation to occur. Very important that a person can have that acclimation occur. You don't want it to go full force, bam, all the time. And you have very little time for acclimation. And so it gives you a sequence of experiences that pushes it forward and then back and then forward and then back. And this allows the body to acclimate to the levels of expansion that are occurring due to the Kundalini. And regarding not wanting to be around a lot of people, well, this is also a normal aspect of Kundalini. This is not anything that's wrong. You're not all of a sudden an introvert, although you might be, that way for a little while. You got to have time with this. You have to have time to be silent and by yourself. And I know that you may be working in a type of employment that requires you to be around a lot of people. Let's just say you work in a restaurant, and you're a waiter or a waitress in a restaurant. You got to be around people all the time. You got to deal with them. It's like, where's the margarine for my coffee? I need more syrup for my pancakes. Why isn't it? Where is it on the table? No, you know what I'm saying. So they're gonna. I used to be a waiter. So yeah, you're gonna have to deal with these people in very, very gentle ways. But you must find time to be alone by yourself, not with kids, not with spouse, just with yourself. Just with yourself. And this is also a normal aspect of the Kundalini. It knows you and it wants you to know it. And one of the ways that you really get to know it is by being alone with it, preferably in nature, preferably in a natural environment. So with regards to not wanting to be around large groups of people, you can avoid the mall. You don't have to go to a stadium to view a sporting event. You don't even have to go to a theater to see a movie. You can stay at home and do some of these things solo, by yourself. And that can greatly assist you in your journey within the Kundalini. So thank you, Ines, for asking those questions. And Let's see. David is asking, Master Chrism, could you please tell if Shaktipat initiation and Diksha is the same? If no, what's the difference? Well, these are labels. These are terms. Shaktipat and initiation are closer. Diksha is more of a transference of knowledge, more of a this is from my grace. I'm not. I don't know if you've noticed that I'm not talking with you in Sanskrit. I know, surprise you. This whole time you thought I was talking with you in Sanskrit, but no, not happening. So Diksha is more of a passing of knowledge, a passing, you might say, an initiative. These actually apply to the different bodies of human expression. Okay, this is the main difference. Shaktipat and initiation. Shaktipat is the transference of actual energy into the Kundalini matrix of another person. Okay, and this is the intention there is to start the Kundalini campfire burning at the base of the spine. At least that's how it's done through me. Okay, I go from the base chakra all the way up. Okay, and I spend time on each chakra. So when I give a Shaktipat, it's a 25-day Shaktipat, and no joke, it lasts that long, and it is being focused on every single day, even though the way it seems organized, you wouldn't be aware that like say during the first 9 days, were you being told to practice the safety protocols, assiduously, practice and practice and practice. And you're not hearing a lot from me. That doesn't mean that the scatter fields aren't watching and participating in your practice, which is the whole point of having the scatter field, in addition to providing a consciousness for transference. So as far as the Diksha, and looks like I lost you there, David. Here we go. As far as those differences, yeah, that's what I'm getting. I'm not, I try to speak in English with these things. This is something that was decided long ago for me. I've never been to India. I love the people of India, but I've never been to that country. So I'm not really interested in communicating in a language where most of the people that I'm talking with don't speak Sanskrit, they don't speak Hindi, they don't speak any of the various languages that are used in India. And so you won't find me using, very, very rarely will you find me saying the word Diksha. Okay. You'll find me using the word Shaktipat because that's kind of what came for me to use, so I do use it. But the other terms, like the names of the chakras, Muladhara, Anahata, and all these things, I'll use base chakra, and I'll use heart chakra, throat chakra, pineal chakra. I'll try to bring it to people in the language that they can understand without having to go onto Google Translate and look it up. Okay, so thank you, David, for asking those excellent questions. Let's see here if we have another one here. Okay, all right. So that's what I wanted to tell you about the hot and the cold, but other associated kriyas as well. Okay. It's important for you to recognize that these kriyas are a natural aspect of your Kundalini awakening. You do not need to fear them. They are not to be feared. They are to be embraced and allowed. I don't care if it puts you into a pretzel on your kitchen floor and people are having to step around you, which does happen. Just let it be. Nothing is wrong. Educate the people around you. Educate your spouse, your family, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whoever it is. Educate your housemates or flatmates. And, so that people don't, call emergency services upon you because they think, oh my God, they're having a seizure. Some of these kryias can look like a seizure. And if you go into the emergency room, you say, well, I feel like I'm being electrocuted and my body's being twisted this way and that. And they're going, oh, we're having a grand mal seizure or a petit mal seizure. These are not seizures. You understand? These are not seizures. These are not a medical emergency. This is a gift of the Kundalini transformation that is occurring within you. And it's a beautiful, wonderful, amazing thing that is happening with you. And you just need to accept that and understand that. And yes, you will not have scientific validation for this. And for some of you, that's going to be a very, very difficult thing. Some of us are so addicted to the scientific method and the products of science, which I think are great. I mean, I'm talking on a science apparatus right here, this laptop. Being this laptop and being connected to the internet by a router and all of these beautiful, wonderful technological advances. But with Kundalini, it is beyond technology. Until we have a Kundaliniometer, and until we have physicians that recognize the existence of Kundalini and its effect upon the 5 bodies of human expression, then we're not going to be able to depend upon science to help us in these areas. Okay? Be okay with that. In many ways, it's good that we don't have a scientific backup for Kundalini because it forces us to trust. It forces us into areas of the unknown which we would not otherwise go into. You have to be able to accept change and transformation in your life. You have to be able to trust. Trust your body. Your body knows what to do with the Kundalini. It's only the ego mind that becomes saturated with fear, self-created fear. You trust your body. You trust the Kundalini. And trust some of your information sources about it. Why are you even listening to this old guy with a beer sitting in his kitchen? How did you end up there? Oh my God. Take the knowledge, let it sit within you, and see if your Kundalini agrees with it. And if it does, then keep it. And if it doesn't, then throw it away. Thanks for watching. Oh, before I end this, I'll be doing about 3 of these videos today. The next one's going to be upon the safeties, the safety protocols, what we're doing with the safeties. So once again, thank you for watching.